James Foley, known as Jim to family and friends, was a freelance journalist and videographer who specialized in covering conflict. He began reporting in Iraq, then in Afghanistan and Libya, and finally in Syria. In November 2012, Jim was kidnapped by Islamic State terrorists. They demanded more than $100 million for Jim's release. And nearly 2 years after his disappearance, James Foley was murdered. His execution, his beheading, was filmed and uploaded to YouTube under the title, A Message to America. Jim was 40 years old. His mother, Diane Foley, has since made it her mission to advocate for the freedom of all captive and wrongfully detained Americans around the world, not just Americans, everybody who is detained wrongfully. Joining me now is Diane Foley, the president and founder of the James W. Foley Legacy Foundation, whom I had the privilege of interviewing last week on the topic of hostages and the wrongfully detained at the Global Security Forum in Qatar, hosted by the Soufan Center. And Diane, interestingly enough, since you and I had that remarkable conversation last week, we've seen a number of people released. It feels like some progress has actually been made.
Oh, I just applaud all of that progress. And I really think it's where our government is beginning to realize that it really needs third-party experts like Ali Soufan and others, as well as very important international partners like Qatar, Belgium, Rwanda. We must have ways to talk to one another. Nobody's going to come home if we will not speak to the people holding our citizens.
You actually made that point about Jim. You felt, when you look back at what could have been different, one of the things you said to me was that you wish you could have communicated at the time with his captors.
Exactly. I mean, the captors reached out to us briefly, about a month, in the middle of his 2-year captivity, but our government was not allowed to engage. And without any engagement, his fate was sealed, and that of the other Americans. I really feel that we must talk to people, even if we disagree with them. And now that more and more countries are targeting our citizens, it's even more complex, Ali, because often captors seek to interfere with our foreign policy, and our government alone cannot negotiate their freedom.
So that's the imbalance here, right? You've got somebody who's captive, and you'd like the government or whomever to do whatever they can to get that person released. But then this becomes political, because sometimes these captors, particularly these days, as they're becoming state affiliated, or they may be people like Brittany Griner, arrested by a state, wrongfully detained to negotiate for something else. That's when it becomes possibly more complicated than it used to be.
Very difficult. And the hostage enterprise we have at present was really set up primarily to deal with terrorists who take our people or criminals, not for state governments, which make it infinitely more complex because of the implications to our own foreign policy, economy, and, just the targeting of our citizens as we travel internationally.
Let me ask you actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Diana, you spoke to one of your son's captors.
Yes. Yes, I spoke 3 times to Alexander Cody because that was part of his, he did plead guilty to all his counts. So part of his deal was his willingness to talk to victim families.
Where are we now? When I spoke to Roger Carstens, who is very involved now in the U.S. organized effort, sort of multifaceted effort to try and get people detained, he pointed to you. He said that you have been instrumental in causing the U.S. government to have sort of a all-of-government approach to getting people released. And you said that we've made a lot of progress since Jim's killing, but not enough.
We have, but it's difficult. It's very difficult. And that's why I certainly commend our current administration, Jake Sullivan, Josh Geltzer, and our current special envoy for hostage affairs, because they've been willing to work with trusted third-party entities, people who are experts, but outside of government, as well as other international partners, as I said. I think developing trust and dialogue is essential I don't think we'll ever really understand what another person who takes our citizen or wrongfully arrests them wants. We need to be able to talk to them. We need to be able to find.
Nothing's going to change the fact that you lost your son, but is there something that moves in your heart when you see that we've got progress, and every time you hear news of somebody who's released and reunites with their family?
Oh, there's no question. That's part of Jim's legacy, but also the legacy of many others. It wasn't just Jim who died. It was Steven Sotloff, Kayla Mueller, Peter Kasich. We have others, Robert Levinson, a lot of the hard work of the Levinson family on that legislation that has mandated that our consular affairs must look at cases of Americans who are arrested abroad and see if they meet criteria for wrongful detention. All of those things together, plus our current families, Bring Our Families Home campaign, all of these folks desperately caught in this ordeal of their loved one who has been taken hostage or wrongfully detained. So
Diane.
It's thanks to a lot of people. We stand on their shoulders, really.
Well, a lot of people say they stand on your shoulders, but thank you for the hard work you're doing. Diane Foley, Jim would be proud of what you have done. Diane Foley is the mother of the late journalist James Foley. She's the founder and the president of the James W. Foley Legacy Foundation.